Hello viewers and welcome to First PUC Accountancy class. In today's class, I will be taking up the second chapter in your syllabus, that is theory based of accounting. Before starting with the chapter, in the previous chapter, that is chapter 1, we have studied about the introduction to accounting. What exactly is accounting? And we have analyzed the definition of accounting and features of accounting and some of the basic terms which are used in accounting. As per the definition or as per the meaning, accounting means it is a process of identifying, measuring and recording the transactions in the books of accounts, which are expressed in terms of money, and preparing the financial statements at the end of the accounting year and communicating the same to the various interested users. When you communicate the accounting information to the interested users by presenting your profit and loss account as well as balance sheet, you are communicating the informations or the transactions which are significant in your business organization, so that all the different stakeholders make use of this information and take a correct decision. The users may be internal users who are inside the business organization or may be external users. The users may be in the form of shareholders or maybe the government, tax authorities, suppliers of goods or consumers or any other general public. All these different parties are interested in the information of your business organization. ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಮೊದಲಿನ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು, ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ನ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗಳೇನು, ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ನ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕೆಲವು ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಗಳ ಮೀನಿಂಗನ್ನು ಕಲ್ತುಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವನ್ನು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರ ನಂತರ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಯಾಕೆ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು? ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಗುಂಪಿನ ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಆ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಗ್ರೂಪಿನ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ಜನರಲ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಈ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತನ್ನ ಮುಂದಿನ ನಿರ್ಧಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಹಿಂದೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡಂಥ ನಿರ್ಧಾರಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ನಡೆಸ್ತಾನೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ತನ್ನ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಯುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕ್ರಮಬದ್ಧವಾಗಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಂತರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಆರ್ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Now this process of recording the transactions, measuring them in monetary terms, preparing the financial statement is not an easy task. It involves various aspects. You need to analyze all these aspects in detail, then accordingly you have to prepare the financial statements and communicate to the interested users. So in order to prepare these financial statements and present it to the various stakeholders, there are certain guidelines, there are certain policies, or we can call them as certain rules or regulations. By making use of these rules, regulations, policies or guidelines, or maybe the assumptions or some fundamental ideas, an accountant will make record of these transactions and he will prepare the financial statements. So in this particular chapter, we will be studying in detail what are these guidelines, what are these different assumptions or concepts or maybe conventions, how these concepts or guidelines are useful or helpful for an accountant, how these concepts will guide an accountant in the process of recording the transactions. These concepts we will study in detail. Now there is one important concept which is called as generally accepted accounting principles. which is popularly called as GAP. GAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. There are certain guidelines, concepts, conventions, basic ideas or basic assumptions which will help an accountant. Now all these concepts, conventions, basic ideas or basic assumptions or maybe policies, regulations or rules, they are collectively called as accounting principles. When these accounting principles are commonly applied and widely recognized by all the business units, then it is called as generally accepted accounting principles. All business organizations which are in different industry or different business sectors adopt or make use of these kind of policies, or it is widely recognized, then it is called as the generally accepted accounting principles. Now generally accepted accounting principles are nothing but the basic ideas, some basic assumptions or certain rules, regulations which have been developed by the accounting profession. Over the years, by having a continuous practice based on the experiences of different accountants or different persons or by different business organizations, in the process of recording the transaction, these assumptions or ideas have been developed. They are not developed in the recent time. Accounting has a history of centuries together, but the modern accounting began in the 19th century, but still there are a lot of evidences which support accounting from 15th century itself. Therefore, it is not of recent origin, since it has got history of centuries together. Over these years, the accountants have continuous practice of recording the transaction, and based on their practice and experiences, these principles have been developed. Along with this, certain rules and regulations have been formed by the government, regulatory bodies, some authorities which are established by the government to monitor the business units, or maybe as per the company law or as per the Income Tax Act. There are certain rules and regulations which will govern the business organization, and they will tell exactly how the transactions have to be recorded and how these transactions have to be taken into account. So accounting principles are called by different names. They are called as rules, regulations, policies, principles, customs, conventions or concepts, guidelines. They are called by different names. When all these customs, practices, conventions, concepts, guidelines, or we call them as rules and regulations, are widely accepted, it is recognized and used or adopted by all the business organizations, and they have a uniformity or consistency in the process of preparing the financial statements, then they are termed as generally accepted accounting principles. So in order to have a common base and uniformity at the time of preparing the financial statements, and in order to facilitate comparison of the financial statements of one unit with the other unit and the statements of the one business organization, over the years these principles have been developed. So it becomes easy for any stakeholder to look into the information which is provided in the financial statements and to take any kind of decisions. ಜನರಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಾರ್ವತ್ರಿಕವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗಳು ಒಂದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದೇ ಸಮನಾದ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಗಳನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದೇ ಸಮಾನಾದ ಊಹೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಅಥವಾ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಎಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗಳು ಒಂದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ತನ್ನ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಫಿನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ, ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಈ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ನ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ನಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಇಂದಿನ ಶತಮಾನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವ ಮೂಲಕ ತಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಅಥವಾ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಅದರೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸಂಬಂಧಿತ ಏಜೆನ್ಸಿಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗಳು ಇಂಥ ಕೆಲವು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಟೈಮಿಗೆ ಬದಲಾಯಿಸಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತವೆ. ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಕೆಲವು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ರೂಲ್ಸ್, ನೀವು ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಇಂತಹ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಎಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ತಂತ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗಳು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತವೋ ಆವಾಗ ಆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅಥವಾ ಅದೇ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸನ್ನು ಕೆಲವು ವರ್ಷಗಳ ತನಕ ನಾವು ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ದೀಸ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ or policies do not remain the same over the years. Based on the continuous practice, based on the changing environment or based on the changing business environment, based on the changes in the legal environment, political environment, social environment or technological environment, some modifications or changes will be done to the policies also. So they are not stable or they are not constant. Depending upon the business environment, such changes will be implemented or adopted in the generally accepted accounting principles. And these accounting principles, or there are several principles or several guidelines. All the guidelines, all the principles, all the assumptions are not applied for one particular transaction. Depending upon the nature of the transaction, first it is analyzed and then a suitable policy is adopted or a suitable policy is being used. So whenever an accountant is recording the transactions, he has a guideline. By using these guidelines, by making use of all these different guidelines, he will be recording the transactions in the books of accounts. ಒಬ್ಬ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ತನ್ನ ಬುಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಊಹೆಗಳನ್ನು, ಕೆಲವು ಐಡಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನು, ಕೆಲವು ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪಾಲಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. ಈ ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಕೆಲವು ಊಹೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಈ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಊಹೆಗಳನ್ನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಯಾವ ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪಾಲಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಸರಿಸಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿದುಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ನಾವು ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ assumptions which are done by an accountant in the process of recording and preparation of the financial statements. So every accountant, whether it is a small scale business, medium scale business or a large scale business, while recording the transaction of these business units, he will make certain assumptions or certain fundamental ideas are being followed. Only by following these ideas or by making these basic assumptions, he will be recording the transactions. Now these basic ideas or fundamental assumptions have developed over the years based on continuous practice and based on the experiences of various accountants in their particular profession. ಈ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಒಬ್ಬ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟಿಗೆ ದಾರಿ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ವಿಂಗಡಿಸಬೇಕು, ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾದಂಥ ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಯನ್ನು ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ನೀಡ್ತವೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಂದರೆ ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವು ಊಹೆಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವು ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪನೆಗಳು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತನ್ನ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ assumptions which we call them as accounting concepts. All the concepts may not be applied for one particular or one single transaction. Depending upon the circumstance, depending upon the nature and the parties involved to the transaction, we will apply a suitable concept, and based on that particular concept, the transactions are recorded in the books of accounts. So in today's class, we will study in detail what are these accounting concepts, how these accounting concepts will help an accountant to record the transactions and at the time of preparation of financial statements. There are 13 different accounting concepts or fundamental ideas or assumptions which are developed by the accounting profession. We will study in detail about all these 13 different accounting concepts by analyzing different examples for all these accounting concepts. So the first concept is business entity concept. Business entity concept suggests that the business organization has its own individual, distinct or separate entity from its owners. Or in simple words, in accounting, we consider the business unit as one separate entity and the owners of such business organization as separate entities. So there is a clear cut distinction or difference or differentiation between the owners of the business organization and the business unit or the business entity. We consider these two units as two different entities or two different individual persons. ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಎಂಟಿಟಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಾವು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನ ಓನರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಅಥವಾ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಗೆ ತನ್ನದೇ ಆದಂಥ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವ ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅದರ ಓನರ್ಗಳಿಂದ ಬೇರ್ಪಡಿಸ್ತೇವೆ ಅಥವಾ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. As per this concept, in the books of the business organization, only the transactions that are related to the business unit are recorded and the transactions of the owners are not recorded. If at all in the transaction the business entity is involved, or if at all in the transaction business entity is one party, then we will record such transactions in the books of accounts. If business is not involved or if it is owner's transaction, then we do not enter such transactions in the books of accounts. Or to be very clear, the transactions of the business organization are being recorded and the personal or private transactions of the owners are not recorded in the books of accounts. ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಗೆ ತನ್ನದೇ ಆದಂಥ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವ ಇರುವ ಕಾರಣ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳು ಆಗಿವೆ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಅಂತ ಆದರೆ ಆವಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದೇ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಒಬ್ಬ ಓನರ್ನ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಒಬ್ಬ ಓನರ್ನ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಆ ಓನರ್ನ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಇದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಎಂಟಿಟಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಅದರ ಓನರ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಎನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, a motor car is purchased for the use of business organization. Now motor car is an asset for the business. We have purchased this motor car with the purpose of using such motor car in the business premises for your business dealings or for your business related activities. Since it is entered in the name of the business organization, we will record that transaction in the books of accounts of the business. If at all, imagine the same car has been purchased for the personal use of the owner. Owner has purchased it for his private use. Then business has no dealings in that particular transaction. Therefore, we will not record such transaction in the business book. Instead, we will record it in the personal book of the owner. Second concept is money measurement concept. Now, this money measurement concept clearly states that record only those transactions in the books of accounts which can be measured or expressed in terms of money or monetary values. Or else, if you cannot express any transaction or any event in the business organization in terms of money, please exclude that particular transaction. ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವೋ ಅಂಥ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹಣದ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆದರೆ ಅಂತಹ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. So whenever you record any transaction in the books of accounts, you should remember one thing. That particular transaction must be expressed in terms of money or monetary values. To give an example, you purchase a machinery and the machinery has a value, maybe 5 lakh rupees. You can express that particular transaction in terms of money. You purchase a land, maybe 1 acre of land, and the value of 1 acre of land is 50 lakhs, again expressed in terms of money. You purchase 10,000 units of raw materials and the total value of these raw materials is 1 lakh rupees. You purchase a computer, the value of computer is 50,000 rupees. All these transactions are expressed in terms of money. Or you pay rent or wages to your employees or workers, it is also expressed in terms of money. You pay electricity bill, expressed in terms of money. All these transactions are expressed in terms of money. But there are some transactions which cannot be expressed in terms of money. They take place in the business organization, or these transactions are part of business organization, but you cannot express them in terms of money. For example, every business have human resources or the employees. Now, you cannot express the value of any employee or any human resource in your business premise in terms of money. Suppose I am working in a particular business organization. The business organization cannot say that my business organization is 1 lakh rupees. They cannot record that. They cannot record the name of the person and his value as 1 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, or they cannot express in terms of money. That is not possible. Human beings' value is not expressed in terms of money. In the same way, you will have different groups or teams in your business premises. You cannot say that value of a particular team is 1 crore rupees or 2 crore rupees. You cannot justify such statements. In the same way, The intelligence or the effort of a manager cannot be expressed in terms of money. The time taken or the movement of an employee from one place to another place, again it is not expressed in terms of money. All these are transactions which takes place within the business premises, but you cannot express them in terms of money. So you will not record these kind of transactions. You will record only those transactions which can be easily expressed in terms of money or monetary values. In Indian context, it should be expressed in terms of rupees or paise, or if your business is operating in a foreign country, in the local currencies of that particular country, you must be in a position to express the value of such transaction in monetary terms. Again, one more point that has to be noted in this particular concept is that you are recording any of these assets or transactions in the books of accounts at their monetary values and not based on the quantities. Whenever you record any asset, maybe you are recording machinery. Imagine in your business there are 10 machineries. When you are recording in the books of accounts, you will not record machineries 10 numbers or 10 units. Instead, you will identify or find out the total value of all these 10 machineries and you will write the value in terms of rupees. Third important concept is going concern concept. Now, going means continuing, concern means business unit, continuing business concept. As per the going concern concept, it is assumed that once a business is established, it will continue to operate for a long period of time. Or in simple words, no business is established with the intention or purpose to close down or shut their activities in the near future. Once they establish, they want to run their activities for a long period of time, in some cases for an indefinite time period. The owners may come and go, the directors may come and go, employees may come and go, but the business will remain. Business may be transferred from one generation to another generation. You have a lot of business organizations operating in the country as well as in the foreign countries, which was started by one generation, it was passed over to the another generation and it is still continuing its operations. This is because of the concept called as going concern concept. That is the reason why business is considered as one separate entity. Business is separated from its owners. Owners may come and go or owners may change in the business premises, but business will have its operations or existence in the market. ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಅದನ್ನು ನಿಯರ್ ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಊಹೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ತನ್ನ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ ಅದು ತನ್ನ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವವನ್ನು ತುಂಬ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ತನಕ ಕಾಪಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅದರ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗಳು ತುಂಬ ವರ್ಷದ ತನಕ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಊಹೆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಯೂನಿಟನ್ನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಓನರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಆದರೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಹಾಗೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಅದರ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗಳು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಇದು ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ 1 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲೋ 2 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲೋ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂಥ ವ್ಯತಿರಿಕ್ತ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ವಿನಃ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಒಬ್ಬ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ ಅದನ್ನು ತುಂಬ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ತನಕ ಅದರ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. Now, accounting period concept means that the time period or span of time at the end of which we are preparing the financial statements of a particular business organization in order to know the profit or loss of that particular business and to know the financial position or financial stability of the particular business concern. Now, business, once it has been established, it has no intention to close down it in the near future. Since it is a continuing process, every year we will find out the financial position or we will find out the financial performance of the business organization for a definite time period or for a definite time interval. And this definite time period or the time interval where we are finding out the financial activities of the business organization is termed as accounting period. In India, an accounting period consists of 12 years, which starts on 1st April of every year and ends on 31st March of next year. So, in India, as per the Companies Act and as per the Income Tax Act, an accounting year starts on 1st April of every year and ends on 31st March of the next year. So, in an accounting period, what are the transactions related to that particular business will be taken into account, they will be recorded in a systematic way. So, in a given time period of 12 months or one accounting year, all the transactions related to that business, maybe what are the cash inflows or receipts of the business, what are the expenses that the business has incurred, the purchase of any machineries or any other transactions related to the business will be recorded, and we will prepare at the end of the year two important financial statements which is compulsory for a large scale business, which is called as profit and loss account and balance sheet. The profit and loss account is prepared to find out the financial performance of the business in the accounting year. In an accounting year, what are the total amount of cash inflows in the form of incomes or revenues, and at the same time, in order to earn these revenues or incomes, what are the expenses a business has incurred. And finally, after recording all the expenses and incomes, we will find out whether there is profit or loss. If your incomes or revenues are more and expenses are less, then the resulting amount or the balance is termed as profit. On the other hand, if your expenses are more and if your incomes are less, the resulting amount is called as loss. The balance sheet is prepared in order to find out the financial position of the business. During the accounting year, what are the total of liabilities including the capital amount and what are the total amount of assets. Fifth concept is cost concept. The cost concept requires that all the assets which are purchased by the business organization has to be recorded in the books of accounts at their cost price, and the market price of the asset has to be ignored. Now, cost price includes the cost of acquisition or cost of purchase plus the amount of transportation charges paid plus any brokerage or commission paid and the amount paid in order to install that particular asset or in order to bring that particular asset into a proper working condition. Or in simple words, all the expenses which are related to that particular asset in order to bring that particular asset into a proper working condition. All these expenses are called as the cost of asset, or all these expenses are a part of the cost of the asset. I will give an example. Imagine a business organization purchased a machinery worth rupees 1 lakh. Machinery has been purchased, value of machine is 1 lakh rupees. Your business is operating in Bangalore and you have purchased this machinery from Bangalore. Now you have to bring that machinery from Bangalore to Mangalore. You incur some transportation charges. Imagine you have incurred a transportation charge of 10,000 rupees. You have paid some amount as brokerage amount to a particular person who helped you in the process of buying that particular machine. Imagine you have paid 2,000 rupees as brokerage charges. And in order to install that machine in your factory or business premise, you have incurred some expenses which are termed as installation cost or installation charges, maybe 7,000 rupees. This is the cost of acquisition or purchase price. 10,000 you have paid as transportation cost, 2,000 you are given to your broker as brokerage, and 7,000 you are paid as installation cost. Now, in the books of business organization, it has to be recorded at the total of this, all the expenses, 1 lakh plus 10,000 plus 2,000 plus 7,000, 1 lakh 19,000. So, this is considered as cost of the asset. In the books of accounts, under the asset side, you will record machinery as 1 lakh 19,000. After the installation has been done and you started working in your premises using the same machinery, after that, if you incur any expenses, it is not considered as a part of the cost of the machine. It may be considered as repair charges. So, that is not added. Until you start operating using the same asset, if you incur any expenses, all those expenses form part of the cost of the asset. So, the cost concept states that any asset purchased by the business organization has to be recorded in the books of accounts at the cost price, or we also call it as historical price. Historical is nothing but the price of the asset when you had actually purchased it. And as per this concept, the present price or the present value of the asset in the market is completely ignored. It is not taken into account or it is not considered at all. I will give a best example. Imagine a business was started in Mangalore way back in 2000, 20 years ago. Business was started. At the time of starting their business, they purchased a land, maybe in the heart of the city. They purchased a land, maybe 1 acre land, and they had paid 50 lakh rupees. They had paid 50 lakh rupees. Now, this 50 lakh rupees is considered as cost of that particular land or the acquisition price of the land. Even today in 2020, that land is owned by the same business, and in the books of accounts you will record it at 50 lakhs itself. But presently the same land in Mangalore may cost 5 crore rupees. Market value is 5 crore rupees and the cost of acquisition is 50 lakh rupees. Right now, right today, you are entering that particular land as an asset in your books of accounts at 50 lakh itself and not at the present market price, that is 5 crore rupees. This is based on the concept called as cost concept. ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಅಸೆಟನ್ನು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಆ ಅಸೆಟನ್ನು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹಣ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರೋ ಅಥವಾ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತೋ ಅದೇ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅದನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಇವತ್ತು ಅದೇ ಅಸೆಟ್ಗೆ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ಅಸೆಟನ್ನು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹಣವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೋ ಅದೇ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಅಸೆಟನ್ನು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. Sixth concept is dual aspect concept, which is an important concept based on which the present accounting is being practiced. Now this dual aspect concept is considered as the principle or foundation, and based on this concept the practice of accounting is existing. The present accounting practice is called as the double entry system. As per the dual aspect concept, it clearly states dual means two, aspect means activities or two parties. In every transaction, in every event which takes place in the business, there will be at least or minimum two parties involved. There can be more than two parties, but at least two parties will be there. Or in simple words, whenever a transaction has taken place, two accounts will be affected or it will involve two different accounts, or it has to be entered in two different places in the books of accounts. Dual aspect concept ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ನ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳು ಆದರೆ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ 2 ಪಾರ್ಟಿಗಳು ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತವೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನ 2 ಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಅಥವಾ 2 ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಇಫೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ತೋರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಡ್ಯುಯಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. 2 ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ 2 ವಿವಿಧ ಸ್ಥಳಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ 2 ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇದೇ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಆ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಡ್ಯುಯಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಡಬಲ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಡಬಲ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು 2 ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಇಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅದನ್ನು ಬರಿಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಥವಾ 2 ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕ ಬುಕ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಡಬಲ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಆಸ್ ಪರ್ ದ ಡಬಲ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆರ್ ಡ್ಯುಯಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್, there is a fundamental equation in accounting. The fundamental accounting equation goes like this: assets is equal to liabilities plus capital. Now assets means any resources which are owned by the business, any resources which are owned by the business, or when a business has the legal right or authority to receive an amount. Liabilities means the obligations or the responsibilities on the part of business, and capital means the owner's contribution in the business. Now there are different kinds of assets, maybe land, building, furniture, machinery, motor car, computers. All these are considered as asset, even cash and bank balance or debtors. Liabilities may be in the form of debentures or creditors, bills payable, loan. All these are considered as liabilities, and capital is the owner's contribution. As per this accounting equation, on a given date or at a particular situation, the assets of the business organization must be always equal to the liabilities plus capital. ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನ ಅಸೆಟ್ಗಳು ಆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ಗೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು. ದೇರ್ ಶುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ಎನಿ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಿಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್. At any given point of time, it must be equal. I'll give an example. A business organization has invested capital of rupees 1 lakh. And this capital is invested in the form of cash. Cash is an asset. So this 1 lakh has to be recorded here also. 1 lakh of cash. This asset is in the form of cash. You have liabilities, maybe bank loan. You have taken 3 lakh rupees as bank loan. You have the responsibility to pay. Now you have received this cash amount. So 3 lakh is reflected here. So your total assets, maybe bank balance has increased by crediting the loan amount to your bank account. So bank balance has increased. So 3 lakh rupees. Total of assets is 4 lakh, which is equal to liabilities 3 lakh plus 1 lakh of capital 4 lakh. So at any given point of time, your assets should be always equal to the total of liabilities plus capital. So this equation have been derived based on the fundamental concept which is called as dual aspect concept.